up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Conversations Unleashed. Today, as I told you in the last episode, we have video function now, baby. If you do not want to enjoy this audio experience via podcast, you can now come to YouTube, and I'm waving at you right now. I'm at the Ron Clark Academy in my classroom. The funny thing is, I even saw my boss today. Ron Clark is in the building today getting things done as he normally does. The guy is incredible what he does. So everyone, last week I set the course with our podcast because I was talking about it was my birthday and some incredible things happened. And y'all, I am 34 years old. Okay, do you see me? Look, I even went to the gym 2 times this week. So I am sticking to my goal. I stopped lying to myself like I told you 2 episodes ago. All right, we're getting to it. But on today, I want to be transparent with you. This is probably going to be one of my most vulnerable podcasts ever. So it's going to be probably 15 minutes to 20 minutes. It may be less because I want to do it justice. This is the first time I've ever really told this story publicly. And I want to make sure that if I do it correctly, I do it right. You know, I believe in operating in excellence. So that's the type of time I'm on. So, hey, welcome to Conversations Unleashed. This is your weekly power up. Let's get into this topic on today because it is called Leaving North Carolina, My Greatest Fear Happened. Leaving North Carolina, My Greatest Fear Happened. Let's get into it. So, where do I start? Last week, I was invited to speak at East Carolina University by my first administrator ever, Miss Shonda Cherry. Now, you got to meet Miss Cherry. Miss Cherry is a Delta. She's smooth, man. She's from Crestwell, North Carolina. And she has these eyes that, like, as an admin, if you look into them too long, you may just like pass away, right? But she invited me to East Carolina to speak, and of course I took it. She took it last year. She offered it to me. I said, of course I will come down and do anything for you, Cherry, because she's just that great of a leader. And y'all, I went there. I went home in the beginning after celebrating my birthday, hung out with my family, ate some blue crabs. You know how I like to do. And I sat down and I went to East Carolina University. Drove up there that day. Was excited. One of my friends even stopped and gave me a birthday present. I've been so loved on this birthday. And I'm going through my routine to speak. Now, for the record, I want everyone to understand that public speaking is the number one fear. There are moments where I am full of nerves and there's moments where I'm calm. So on that morning, I was just trying to just get myself together, right? I'm trying to get myself together. So we go through the normal introduction and Mrs. Cherry decides to get up and she introduces me. And she reads the bio that I have through Premier Speakers, etc. And I'm like, look at Cherry doing a little bit, above normal. She's really laying the groundwork for me, y'all. And what happens is she says, I have a surprise for you. So, y'all, I am like tripping out. I'm like, okay, what surprises she has for me on the day? I don't even really like surprises like that. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's just get it over with because my mind is locked in on this speech. Y'all, as soon as she says, I would love for you to turn around, when I turned around, Miss Cherry had all of my students that were on with me from the Ellen DeGeneres show and some of the staff from South Greenville and even my parents and my sister, they were standing behind me by the time I turned around. And I want to let you know, as soon as I turned around, I was absolutely terrified. I was full of anxiety. I was full of joy, and I was also unsure. Now, for you, you may think, well, Mr. Bonner, it's the kids that you've taught. These are the kids that at the end of all of your speeches for the last 7 years, you have referenced, why would you be nervous and uneasy? Why would you be shocked? And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, that's what we're going to talk about today. Even if you look at the video of when I turned around, our first initial hugs was awkward. I want to get into that one today. So the reason why that moment for me was my greatest fear coming to fruition in real life is because my departure from North Carolina wasn't the smoothest. Okay, at the previous school, which is now doing incredible things with Miss Covington and all of the leaders and teachers that are there, they're making steps towards growth. They're doing incredible things. During my tenure at South Greenville Elementary, I had 14 different administrative changes in 6 years. So when the last set of admin came in, there wasn't really an agreement on the speaking and things that I do now. And at that time, I knew that, well, I have a platform because of going on the Ellen show, but what about my kids? Right? And I know that they have money given to the school and stuff, and that's another conversation episode for another day, right? But what about my babies? So I began speaking, and I want to let you know that when you're doing something you feel like God has called you to do, everyone isn't always going to like that. And guess what? That's okay as long as you know that that's what you've been called to do. So I had to leave. I had to leave the school. I ended up leaving the school to come to Atlanta to teach. And Ron Clark and Kim Bearden have been incredible since I've been here. They did everything in a professional way. And even me leaving North Carolina was done in a way that wasn't disrespectful. But the last individuals that I did not have a conversation with, because they were caught up in the politics of everything, were my students. So for the past 7 years, I've kept in touch sporadically with some of them because we all know life happens. They were in fourth grade by the time I left, fourth or fifth grade. And in all the speeches, if you've ever heard me speak before, I reference my babies because that's why I do what I do. But I never had a direct conversation or even back in person with them. And for me, that really shook me because I knew them like they were like as if they were my own. So I was with them for those years there, and I can imagine in their mind they were thinking, Mr. Bonner has now gotten this level of fame a little bit, and he's leaving us to go to a bigger city and a better school to be a celebrity, and we're still here in these conditions. And y'all, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I saw them that day, that morning at East Carolina University, it moved me. It shocked me. I was speechless for the first time ever in almost over 300 speeches. At that point in time, I didn't have any words to say. And it wasn't Miss Cherry's intentionality behind it to shock me or to try to be messy. It wasn't that at all. She didn't have any idea. But the fact of the matter is, as I stood there and looked at them in their eyes, I knew that I need to go ahead and have a conversation with y'all right now. So if you ask anyone that was there at the event, I actually took the kids over to the side. And my heart was so heavy. I'm like, y'all, look, this is the real deal, what happened. And we went through it. Mr. Bonner was dedicated to speaking to try to raise money for you. And certain systems weren't okay with that. And I had to make the best decision to leave and come to an environment that allows me to thrive so you can still be successful. And if you've heard me give my speech, those students that were on the cover with me with the Ellen DeGeneres show, I've been working so that they can have access, financial equity in this capitalistic society to actually be successful in this world. So when they graduate high school, they can have some type of beautiful care package from me that will give them a good start. You know, in this society, as wage inflation is going all over the place and the opportunities and things are shrinking. So I want to give you two things that I found out in this scenario that truly taught me a lesson. And I want to share those things with you because at that point in time, y'all, I was terrified. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, cause those are my kids. That's why I do what I do. That's the reason why I teach. That's the reason why I speak. They are always in the back of my mind. In my apartment, I have the check from Ellen DeGeneres. I have their photos all around in my apartment. So it's still with me. So I want to give you two things to help you out when you come across your greatest fear. Because I think it's important. The very first thing that you can do is, which I think is important for all of us as leaders, as people who are trying to be great at what we do, is communicate. Communication is by far one of the most critical and important pieces of any relationship, but especially when there's confusion in the place, right? So because there was a cloud of confusion, I never took the time to address them as a mass. I didn't know how to. And I'm not proud of that. But what I did recognize was, even though I could not fix what I didn't do in the past, what I could do is communicate with them right then and tell them to be vulnerable in my perspective of, this is why Mr. Bonner moved the way that he did. Right. And believe it or not, they were well receptive of it. They were incredible with how they received the truth from my end. And that means everything to me. So if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching it right now on YouTube, hey people, always understand that communicating to those who are willing to be receptive of what you have to say is critical. Because I found out in life sometimes too, y'all, we can communicate to people and they don't even care to really know. They're just really there to be nosy or to try to be messy. And I don't want you to waste any energy on that this year as we go into the second half of 2024. But outside of number one with communication, there's another piece I want you to pay attention to. And I want you to receive this because I have to recognize it as well. And it is this. You have to understand on today, whether you are a teacher, a parent, sibling, you are in a relationship, you are working in a professional setting, whether you are in a C-suite, you're an entrepreneur, to my mass audience, and most of you are women. I got some men, shout out to y'all, but I want you to hear me on this. Number 2 point is you have to understand you are a hero and villain in someone's story. You are a hero and villain in someone's story. And the reality of life is we are imperfect individuals in an imperfect world who are imperfect in our ways. And there are going to be moments where you disappoint people and hurt people, even when you're striving to do your best. Even if I look at it from the faith standpoint, because I believe in God, I know that there are moments I'm going to do things wrong, even if I have the best intentions. And with my kids, I am sure there is a sector or percentage of them or parents that feel some type of way about me making that transition to Atlanta. But I had to recognize what was my true intentions and purpose. And was my true intentions and purpose to try to come out here to be famous in Atlanta and get known? No. If you really know me, like my inner circle knows, taking pictures sometimes makes me uncomfortable because I don't even know which angle to smile at. I just be smiling nervously, right? But you're also the hero in someone's story as well. And that day at East Carolina, some of my babies, man, hugged me. They told me they miss me, they love me, they appreciate me. And that was something that sort of drowned out that fear I had, that noise, and gave me energy to deliver the speech. And the funny thing about it is, it's so cool how God works, y'all. I was delivering the speech and I have them in the speech. So their faces of seeing them at a young age and me talking about them as if I still teach them was priceless. And what I want to do on today is I want to challenge you that there may be some things in your mind that you're afraid of. There may be some things that you are skeptical about, that you don't really know how you're going to address them. I talked about it this morning in therapy with my therapist. But what I do want to encourage you is that even within that fear you have within yourself, right? I want you to understand that, one, the best thing you can ever do is communicate and try your best. And number 2, understand that people are going to people. There are some people who are dedicated to sticking to the dysfunctional story and narrative because it feels comfortable to the trauma that they live in. Oh, that was good. That was good. Some people are dedicated to the narrative and the dysfunction that they like to swim in because it pacifies the trauma that they like to live inside of. And on today, listen, don't worry about pleasing them. Just try your best to put your best foot forward and live out your purpose. If I was truly trying to chase fame and chase money and etc., I would not still be a teacher today. I would have tried to take any advantage after any magazine publication that I've been on or any interview or getting to acting here in Atlanta. No, y'all, I love being in my classroom. I love teaching. I count it as an honor that Ron and Kim allowed me to teach here at this school along with them and my amazing coworkers. So I want you to figure out what your purpose is, hold on to that and understand that, and to address those fears, 1, you're going to have to need that communication, but 2, understand that people are going to be peopling. And once you understand that, it should take the pressure off of you to live your best life. All right. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode because it was something that was very dear to me. I will say that the next episode will probably be from a hotel room because I want to be committed to producing these for you with the video and audio. But I want to be on the road the next couple of weeks, just talking to some teachers, just encouraging them. I may pop up in your city. You don't even know. But if you enjoyed this podcast, and even if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed this episode, listen, share it with someone. If you're on Spotify or Apple, listen, go ahead. You can leave me comments and stuff there now. All right. But I would love for you to share this with people because, y'all, what the goal of this podcast is rising together. How can we collectively, continually do things that will push us to a higher level, and we do it in a collaborative way? All right. Know that I love you. I appreciate you. If you have any follow-up questions or anything about this episode, shoot it to me in my DM. And always never forget, with your beautiful, amazing, talented, gorgeous self, it is always legacy over likes. Take care. See you next week.